oh, what did you stand up and pledge to every morning? And my British husband is like, nothing. That sounds very strange. She brought a salad for the whole table, and he was like, well, I want some salad, but I didn't order it, so I can't have any. And we were like, nobody here even wants the salad. Like, we're all here for the breadsticks. You have some salad. Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm an American who's lived in the UK for almost 10 years, and today we are talking about things that Americans love. Similar to the British video, some of these make sense. Some of these I'm poking fun at a bit. It's very easy to poke fun at myself as an American because there are a lot of weird things I do, but I'll just go ahead and jump into the first one, which is pretty obvious to a lot of British people and Europeans and basically most places but America. Number one, we love the Pledge of Allegiance, but it's kind of weird when you think about it, and you don't realize that until you move out of the US and you're like, oh, what did you stand up and pledge to every morning? And my British husband is like, nothing. That sounds very strange. So Americans just love this idea of patriotism and putting your hand over your heart and saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Every single morning in school, literally from kindergarten until you are a senior, we have a whole section in a lot of schools where you stand up, you say the pledge, and there's a patriotic song that plays, and you either sing along or listen along, and you do this every single morning. And there's something about being American that makes us love this idea of saying the pledge in unison to the flag, which again doesn't feel creepy when you're actually in America growing up and doing it for the most part. Like, I never ever thought that, but then when you move somewhere where they don't do that and they kind of give you the side eye, then you're like, oh, maybe this is a little strange. Okay, the next thing that Americans love is Halloween. And I'm not going to talk specifically about Halloween, but a specific aspect of my experience of Halloween and what Americans, particularly in religious areas, loved in the 90s and early 2000s, because we can do a whole video on UK versus US Halloween. Americans love Halloween basically more than anyone else. But we also love, or did love, religious haunted houses. So I grew up in Florida, which is not really considered like the Bible Belt or anything like that, but this was definitely late 90s, early 2000s, and local churches would put on haunted houses, but it wasn't a real haunted house in the sense that there were skeletons or ghosts. The point was to scare you into not wanting to go to hell, because you started off in this haunted house and there was like a whole series of live acting that you followed, and it was some like tragic accident or like a car accident or like a terrorist attack or someone's poisoned the water, and you like go through this haunted house and you see how various people react to it. And at the end there are two, this is just sounding really strange the more I'm getting into this, there are two kids or teenagers, and one of them is a Christian and one of them isn't. And then you keep going, and then you literally go into a room in a church that is decorated like hell. And then you see that he's basically like pretending to burn in the fiery pits of hell. And then you go to the other room where Jesus, which is probably like the pastor dressed up with like a halo. And I remember there were like white sheets everywhere. And in that room, then you see the kid who was a Christian go to heaven. Does anyone else who's American remember these? Someone comment below, because this is definitely, like, we just loved it though. It was like a huge thing, like, oh, we're not gonna do trick-or-treating. We're gonna go, it was called Judgment House, and it was like, we're gonna go to Judgment House. And I just remember being so terrified as a child, going through and like seeing this kid burn in the fiery pits of hell, which makes sense as to why I would feel that way, but we were all about it. And so Americans do love Halloween, and we also love doing strange things around Halloween. Okay, the next thing Americans love is the concept of homecoming in high school. Now, if you're not from the US, homecoming is basically the first football game of the year where maybe this could be a whole nother thing. Americans love high school football, but it was the first home game of the year, like started off your season, and the whole week was called homecoming week, and every single day was a different theme, and there would be a parade. Like all of the students would make floats, and different clubs would walk in the parade, and people from the city that you live in or the neighborhood that you live in would come out, because it was like on the schedule every year, this homecoming parade. And it's such a big deal. Most Americans who went to, I guess, anything but like a boarding school would definitely know about homecoming week. It's incredibly popular. We looked forward to it every year. I wasn't like the biggest football in high school kind of person, but homecoming week was always fun to see what people dressed up as, and if you were in a club, to get to decorate the float and things like that. So number 3, Americans love the idea of a high school homecoming week. Okay, something else Americans love is the ability to take PE online. Now, I'm not going to tar all of the US with the same brush here. I'll take that back. Floridians love this. I loved this. So in high school, I was doing some virtual classes in order to, I think, get ahead or to not have to take PE during a high school day. And I decided that I was going to take PE online. My husband thinks this is the funniest thing ever. And I remember there were like assignments, and it was like I needed to run a mile. And so I went out into my garage and I turned on the treadmill, but I didn't even run because I was so lazy. I think I just sat there and like read a book or something. And then my mom had to sign off that I had done my exercises. And the whole concept of taking PE online is definitely the most American thing I have ever heard. And again, equal opportunity. This is weird. It is weird. It is strange. I cannot believe that I was allowed to take PE online, but I did, and I'm going to say that I really enjoyed it. Okay, the next thing Americans love are those weird lawyer commercials. And I'm not talking like a national lawyer. There will always, no matter where you are, there will be regional lawyers who have like giant billboards and regional commercials. And I can still remember the Orlando ones. It was like Bogan Munns and Munns for the people, or Morgan and Morgan for the people. Everyone is for the people, but probably not. They're probably for the money in the end. And if you turn on any American TV, you will see these regional like law commercials, but they're usually people who are trying to help you get money from like car accidents or other things. I mean, they're obviously real lawyers, but like now knowing what I know now and actually growing up, I'm not sure I would ever actually call one of these places, because the commercials are just it's all so over the top and so cringy. But to this day, I still remember the exact names. It's never anything normal. They always like have the same name, or it's like 18 different last names, and they're all for the people. Another thing Americans love, and this is another type of commercial, are local car commercials. So I am not talking about a car commercial where like a Mercedes is driving around the coast of California with some like sleek music in the background. That's like a real national commercial. I am talking about a local car commercial for a local car dealership. Things that you have to have. Number 1, usually there is someone's grandchild who is like sitting on the car with grandpa talking about it. Like there's always got to be a kid in these kinds of things. Number 2, there always has to be some sort of tagline. So for the ones I remember, it was, "See ya in a Kia." And I just remember, I've never bought a Kia, but when I think of car commercials, I think of, "We'll see ya in a Kia." And they also usually have one of those like flappy, like blow up, like giant people who just like wave all over the place. And then you've got the kid, and then you've got someone sitting on a car, and it's so weird, but we love it. We love a good regional car dealership commercial. Okay, something else Americans love are flying flags in our front yards. But I'm not just talking about the American flag. That, again, a whole nother video about patriotism. I'm talking about, and if you're not from the US, you will have no concept of what I'm talking about, because they would never do this in the UK. But you have a flagpole that is hanging off the side of your house, and people will change it depending on the season. So my mom has a birthday flag, she has a St. Patrick's Day flag, she has a Halloween flag, she has a New Year's Eve flag, she has multiple Christmas flags. There are also ones like for seasons, so if it's not an actual holiday, but you could do a springtime flag. I think she has one with flowers that's just for all year round. We love buying flags we don't need to hang in front of our houses to tell the rest of the world who already knows what holiday it is, what holiday it is. Again, one of those things you don't think are strange growing up in America until you move somewhere, and my husband's like, well, I don't understand why your mom has a flag out front that says it's Halloween. I'm like, I've never thought of it that way. It's just part of the culture, something that we like to do, a way to decorate your house. You can go into stores and buy all kinds of different house flags. And again, it's not as if you have a full-on like flagpole from the ground in your front yard. It's hanging off the side of your house. And if you ever go to the States in any suburban neighborhood, I guarantee you will definitely see at least a couple people with these kind of festive flags, no matter the time of year, hanging out front. Another thing Americans love, and I put down Cheesecake Factory initially, but I'm just going to expand that to chain restaurants. We love knowing that you can go to any state and still get the same meal from Olive Garden. We know it's not going to be like the best meal we've ever eaten in our lives. In fact, we're pretty sure it's not going to be. But the fact that you can get it wherever you go is very comforting, and that is definitely not something that people in the UK can get on board with. I do see a lot of people, because I'm from Orlando, I do see a lot of British people who are visiting Orlando comment on certain restaurants and chains they like to go to there, but only because it's different from what is here. There are some like chain pubs, there's like Weatherspoons and stuff here in the UK. But in general, the culture here is much more on like individually owned places, and they just do not have this same concept of really as a culture embracing and loving chain restaurants. I'm certainly not above this love. I can list off a whole list of chain restaurants, including the Cheesecake Factory, which has about 86,000 options, which is what I go for. I also miss Outback Steakhouse, which again, themed Australian. Is there anything Australian about it? I don't think so, besides there's a boomerang that hangs up, but we're Americans, so we'll take it. Other things I miss, like a Wendy's, even though Wendy's is coming to Reading in the UK, so we'll see how that goes. And Olive Garden, love their breadsticks. I will not stand up for any of the food served at these chain restaurants. I will not say that they are good. I will just say that we love them, and so that I'm not going to apologize for. Also, side note, my dad proposed to my mom in an Olive Garden and they are now divorced, so maybe that wasn't the best choice. Another funny story about Olive Garden is that we took my husband one time to an Olive Garden. He had never been or hadn't been in a really long time, and the whole situation was so confounding to him of like the multiple refills, and she brought a salad for the whole table, and he was like, well, I want some salad, but I didn't order it, so I can't have any. And we were like, nobody here even wants the salad. Like, we're all here for the breadsticks. You have some salad. And he was like, but I'm not allowed. And we're like, it's Olive Garden. You are allowed to do whatever you want. Yeah, British people do not have the same love or appreciation for a chain restaurant, but Americans, we feel it in our hearts, those Olive Garden breadsticks. Okay, and the last thing on my list of things that Americans love is eating dessert for breakfast. So again, I never really thought of it like this until I moved to the UK, but common breakfast items in the US would include things like donuts, muffins, which my husband calls cupcakes, and I have to keep being like, it's a muffin, not a cupcake. And he's like, well, what is the difference? And I'm like, a muffin is a breakfast item and a cupcake is a snack item. And he's like, but they're basically the same thing. Also, Pop-Tarts. We love to eat a Pop-Tart for breakfast, and I don't particularly like the fruity ones. I only like ones that do taste like dessert. So s'mores, brown sugar cinnamon, chocolate chip cookie dough. We have whole entire aisles of the grocery store that just have sugary cereal. And so again, growing up in America, you're not like, oh, this is so fun, I get to eat dessert for breakfast. But when you move away and then you come back, you're like, I don't necessarily think that that donut counts as a healthy breakfast. But you're like, well, when in America, you know, do what we do. But yeah, we, you know, I mean, some people do eat like regular breakfast food, but it would be completely nothing. No one's gonna think twice about having a Pop-Tart for breakfast and feeling like you're eating a breakfast item when the rest of the world looks at you and is like, that is definitely like 8,000 calories and not good for you. So that would be like a once a month kind of treat, and you eat that every single morning for breakfast. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the video on things that Americans love. Most of them pretty weird. Again, this is an equal opportunity channel, so if I poke fun at things that the Brits do or enjoy, I definitely have to poke fun at the things that we in America enjoy. If you are from somewhere other than America, comment below and let me know like the weirdest thing that you think Americans enjoy. And if you are from the States, let me know which of these you agreed with. Again, I'm gonna make an apologies. I basically do love most of these things, but I do understand from an international perspective, it can be a little bit weird. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.